I made a whole 15 minutes saying time-based combat is a crutch. And instead of watching the 15-minute video breakdown I made, you all did a drive-by in the comments to defend your childhood nostalgia. Most of you didn't even make it past 90 seconds of the video, but you're ready to get all up in your feelings. You're like too old to get rage baited and jump in the comments and get in your feeling about your childhood games. Brother, you're over 35. It is okay to grow up. Being an adult is okay, even if it's not that great. But here's the thing. Some of you actually showed up with real points, and those points I respect that. So today's we're going to do two things. I'm standing on business on my original point, and I'm giving credit where it's due. Stick around.
The dead are corralled, yes, indeed. And in this land, what do we have here?
Welcome back to the mid-look. I'm Lela. This is it, on Admit, and we don't sugarcoat anything here. Quick thing, before we get into it, I want to be clear about what this video is and what it isn't. This is not me saying time-based combats are trash. This is not me saying that people who play them are. Most of them are. What I am saying is that time-based combat as a format was born out of technical limitation, not creative genius, and in 2026, defending it as the peak of game design without acknowledging that history is just nostalgia talking. Now let's get into it. I've already explained where time-based combat came from. If you want more on that, go watch the previous video. Short version. Time-based combat comes from the tabletop RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, pen and paper. Then video games inherited this model not because it was the best possible combat system, but because early hardware literally could not process real-time combat at scale. The processing power wasn't just there. Time-based wasn't a bold creative choice in the beginning. It was a workaround, a technical limitation addressed up as a feature. The question I'm asking in 2026 is simply, now that we have hardware to do anything, why are we still treating that limitation like it's a feature? Here's the argument I keep seeing in my comments. Time-based is more strategic, and I want to address this properly because one of my commenters actually made a point that forced me to think harder about this. They said, and I'm paraphrasing, that there's no Souls-like that gets you to manage a party of people, and they're right. Elden Ring is a solo experience, Lies of P a solo experience, Crimson Desert, a solo experience. The party management argument is real, and I want to acknowledge that. But here's where I push back. Games like Mass Effect, Dragon Age Origins, even Baldur's Gate 3 itself, they give you party control. And the question is whether the time-based format is the only way to deliver that experience. Because Dragon Age Origins actually has a real-time with pause system. You can pause combat at any point and issue commands to your whole party. You get the tactical depth and real-time feel. And my commenter actually brought up something I didn't address in the first video. Real-time with paused games. Pillars of Eternity, Tyranny, Dragon Age. But here's the thing. Even acknowledging real-time with paused games, my core argument doesn't change. I might sound like broken record. Let me repeat what I said in the previous video. In Elden Ring, I am reading frame data, spacing, stamina, attack patterns, all simultaneously in real time under pressure with consequences. If I misread a single frame, I'm dead. This is strategy under stress. In a traditional turn-based game, I open a menu, I pick an option, I confirm it, I watch an animation, then I wait, then each goblin takes its turn. Party builds and synergies require thought, I'll give you that, but here's my actual argument. That level of strategic thinking exists in actual games too. The difference is in action games, you are planning and performing simultaneously. That's actually a more higher skill ceiling, like there's no argument there. Now, here's where I'm going to say something that might surprise most people who came here just to watch me rant. One of my commenters made a point that I think is genuinely important, and I did address it in the previous video. They said, and I'm quoting, "We shouldn't always have games that focus on reaction time, because if we only had games based on around precise timing and reaction times, we'd have a lot less people playing games in the first place." And they are talking about accessibility, people with certain disabilities, people with slower reaction times, people who genuinely cannot engage with fast-packed action combat the way others can. And that's a real thing, and that's a legitimate reason for turn-based games to exist. Not nostalgia, actual accessibility, a format that lets you engage with complex worlds and stories without needing to react in milliseconds. That's valuable. I mean that. But, and this is important, that the argument is about accessibility. It's not an argument that turn-based combat is mechanically superior to action combat. Those are two completely different conversations. One of them I respect, the other one I'm still going to argue with you about. In game, a soccer mom can play with her son while wearing pajamas. That's a casual game to me, and if turn-based defender want to use accessibility as their argument, great, I'll give you that. But don't then turn around and tell me it's chess, not checkers, brother. Brother, that is not chess. That is Jenga. The immersion breaks. Commenter's edition. My commenter made a good point about perspective too. Third person versus are isometric, and they are right that the isometric camera in a lot of turn-based games create distance between you and the characters. You're not in the world, you're watching it from above like a board game, which again goes back to tabletop origins. That's not a coincidence. That's the DNA of the format showing. If the combat system of a game is designed in a way that breaks the very story it's trying to tell, that's a design problem, not a genre feature. Just saying. Now, my second comment, I made a point I want to address directly. They said games like Pokemon and Persona 5, the selling point isn't just the combat, it's the gameplay loop, the social sim in Persona, the catching mechanics in Pokemon, and they're absolutely right. But here's the thing, that actually supports my argument. The time-based combat in Persona isn't why people love Persona. The time-based combat in Pokemon isn't why people love Pokemon. People love those games despite all around the combat system. Not because of it. The combat is functional. It served the loop, but it's not the reason anyone to obtain memory from Persona. From Persona 5 is a random battle.
In search of the Elden Ring, emboldened by the flame of ambition.
In my comment I also said, and I thought this was well put, that Baldur's Gate 3 and Expedition 33 didn't win Game of the Year because of good combat system alone. They won because other design elements complemented the combat really well to create an overall good game. And I 100% agree with that, which is exactly my point. The combat system alone isn't enough to carry a game anymore. It needs everything else to compensate for it. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 won the Game of the Year of 2025, 9 wins of the Game Awards, over 5 million copies sold. Critics called it a masterpiece. The French president literally, personally, the French president, let me put on my best French accent, Monsieur Emmanuel Jean-Michel Frédéric Macron, that was my French accent.
That shit is a two-pack of ass.
The French president personally congratulated the studio, and it's a turn-based RPG. And my second commenter made a point that I want to acknowledge. They said, Turn-based combat is actually at a disadvantage with how stigmatized the genre has been for the past 20 years. And they are not wrong. Publishers have been telling developers to avoid turn-based for years because it doesn't sell. Square Enix literally rebuilt Final Fantasy into an action game because they thought turn-based was a liability. So yes, Clair Obscur winning is significant. I'm not dismissing that. Here's where I actually land on this, and I think it's more nuanced in what I said in the first video. Turn-based RPG are story and tactical delivery vehicles. That's what they do best. The combat system in Baldur's Gate 3 exists to give you urges in the world, to make your choices feel weighty, to let you express your build. The fights are less about fighting and more about the expression of your strategy for a certain type of player that's genuinely satisfying. The gaming format serves your priorities, but if you're defending turn-based combat as a mechanically superior to action RPGs in 2026 without the story argument, without the accessibility argument, without the party management argument, then I genuinely don't know what you're defending. Because on pure mechanical merit, Crimson Desert, Elden Ring, Lies of P, and Witcher 3, these games, clear turn-based games on any day. They give you the story, the combat, the immersion, and the skill expression all at the same time. They don't ask you to pause the world to play the game. Turn-based combat made sense when games had no other option. It made sense now if your priority is narrative depth, accessibility, or party-based strategy. But if you're defending it as a peak of game design without that context, that's just nostalgia. And look, there is a whole library of games that have improved gaming in general with each coming year, each year building on the last. But some of you all have decided to remain in 1991. Brother, you're no longer 8 years old. You can play other games. And I'm gonna lie, it is going to become my last mission to convert you, not because I hate time-based games, but because there is so much out there that you all are missing. You're just watching and not subbing. We out. Vikamini veshustra, fotografia tvoja, goriati vos pominania o teba. Ukamini veshustra, rasbitaya dusha, i vesova beshnania, pustota. Vikamini veshustra, fotografia to